Good evening, one and all. We have today among us the Sri Milind Anvekar, Vice President of Open Destination Infotech Private Limited, and also he also the Vice President at the Goa Technology Association. So, without wasting much time, he is sir going to talk on today's on COVID-19 impact and lesson learned. Now, I directly tell sir to start the session.
Okay. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Samir, for this opportunity. I'm hoping all of you are very positive, very safe, and very excited for the next 1 hour that we're going to spend together. I think this particular opportunity to speak to you all, I don't want to make sure that we just talk about things which are common, but just use this to share a little bit of learnings that I personally had during the last 2 months of time, which I believe by sharing with you all, you can potentially get some kind of insights as to what's happening around in Goa in particular, and the business in particular, right? So I want to limit it to what I have planned for, but I want to also make sure that you all are able to ask questions, which I will try to answer the best way I can. Fair enough. So just moving on, this particular session, I want to focus on the impact that this particular pandemic has had. I believe everyone knows what COVID-19 is all about, so I'm not getting more into that. It's very important to understand what has it basically created for us in terms of situation, what have we learned, and how are we preparing ourselves for the next set of months that are going to be ahead with us. We're talking about a global economy and the impact on the global economy, and you hear about it every time, almost all channels, all mediums, right? I'm not going more into those aspects. What I'm talking about is the IT sector in Goa in particular, and travel sector, right? And the reason I'm going to talk about these two sectors is because that's the domain that I'm more related to, and that's the domain I'm basically into more of my professional career. I've been spending time on. Open Destinations is a travel software company, and I'm sure many of you are aware of this. We provide travel technology solutions to the tour operators, some of the largest tour operators across 30 countries all over the world, right? Who use our system to manage their business. And that's a niche area, that's where we do very well. Obviously, with what has happened, one of the sectors that has immediately been impacted is the travel sector. And therefore, there's a lot of impact on us in terms of how do we basically respond to this particular situation, right? And a lot of learnings that has come out of this particular time that we spent handling this particular case. So you can say this is more of a case study with obviously some suggestions which I feel might be of help to many of you. So that's about Open Destinations. We are doing pretty well as of now. I think we managed the situation well, but I think the journey, where we had to face this particular situation in Goa to where we are now, I think it's been something interesting, and I'll be sharing that with you. MA is, so OD is Open Destinations. MA that you see on the screen is Milind Anvekar, that's me. So I'll talk, and I think today, along with me, I also got my son, who's very curious to know what this webinar is all about, because I was just talking to him that this is how the students will be learning in future, and this is how your classrooms will be. He's 6 years old. He's going to be going in the first standard, and I think this is probably how their education is going to be going forward. So his biggest challenge now is to sit with me for 1 hour patiently without disturbing me, right? So he's sitting next to me. He's got his own set of plate laptop, right? And he's got his notebook, pen, and he's just hoping that it's going to be fun. And he's wearing a t-shirt which reads "I am bored," or what it's a totally bored, right? So I think you get to understand some aspects from this particular case, wherein what the next generation will have to prepare for. It's about what will be the normal for them, and this is something that we will find difficult because we have to transition into this particular normal that's awaiting us, right? If you have any questions at any point of time, feel free to ask questions. Samir, we can probably figure out a way by which we can have questions to be addressed. Are you okay to proceed?
Yes, sir. You can proceed, sir.
Great, nice. So let me start by talking a little bit about travel and tourism, right? Uh, I know it's not something related to what many of you guys are into. It's basically the computer applications, IT that probably will be looking at. Let's see the travel side of it. What does travel and tourism industry, what does it mean? What is it? So this industry, travel and tourism, has grown at 3.9% above the global GDP, which was 3.2%. That's only below the manufacturing, right? And which is followed by healthcare and then by IT. So I think it just talks about how this particular industry is, where it is positioned. Okay. Uh, and 2019 apparently happens to be one of the best years the industry has seen, right? So it has contributed 8.8 trillion and 39 million jobs to the world economy, and the industry has generated 10.4% of the global economic activity last year. The global online travel market, now this is again using technology, is it was worth 629 billion in 2017, and it was predicted to be 818 billion in 2020, right? So that's the kind of industry we are talking about. So what's the impact? You immediately get to hear about the loss of jobs, businesses, right? So you're talking about a loss of 75 million jobs globally and 2.1 trillion in revenue. Your air transport revenue, is expected to be falling down by as much as 252 billion dollars, which is 44% less than what it was in 2019. To give some examples, Disney World has followed 43,000 workers. British Airways has suspended 36,000 staffers. Oyo sends thousands of its employees on leave as their revenue falls by over 60%. And today, if you open up Navin Times, you will see about Zomato doing something similar. But that's not in the domain, so I'll not put that in that particular impact areas. But if you see in general, all the other related areas like airports, airlines, the cruises, hotels, and the various franchises, money exchange, credit card companies, travel agents, tour operators, and the tourism sector in general has impacted and impacted very severely. You will see a lot of change in the way we holiday, the way we have official trips, events that are being organized, and functions that the way used to be having. They will no longer be the same. So you'll see a lot of things changing in the months to come, right? And we'll have to probably look at the new normal. Just to give an example, official trips will only be limited to really essential ones. A lot of IT contribution was there for the trips that were being organized, the official trips, client meetings, overseas trips, all is expected to be cut down because you're going to use technology to communicate remotely with a lot of video calls, right? So that's the impact of the travel industry. Let me come to the impact on the IT sector, right? Again, as I said, I'm not going to be talking about impact of the global IT scenario, impact on the IT scenarios in India. I'll come straight to the ITS industry in Goa. The reason I will only share this is because this is something we spent a lot of time in the last couple of weeks, right? To understanding what the industry impact is going to be there, so that as an association, so I'm talking about an association of IT companies in Goa, GTA, we are working together, sharing ideas, helping each other, and making sure that we're preparing ourselves to sustain through this particular phase. Okay. The reason I'm sharing this slide is because not many know about what is the IT sector in Goa looks like, right? So if you see the ITS sector in Goa, the Goa IT industry is 700 plus crores, and it has been growing at 8% year on year. By 2025, we're expecting the ITS industry to be at 1,200 plus crores, which itself, is a big milestone that everyone has been looking forward to achieving. The ITS sector in Goa directly employs 9,000 plus professionals, and it was expected to double in the next 5 years, right? Like this year itself, we opened destinations, we're planning to have around 60 new freshers recruited with us, right? We had taken an extra office space, we renovated it, and we're about to inaugurate the same, wherein we had to go for a lockdown. So yes, a lot of things really got impacted there. But it is just not the direct employment. If you see, the IT industry always creates a lot of indirect employments. So another 27,000 plus indirect employment is always been created by the IT industry alone. So what is the impact we're talking about? So what I'm putting across is some of the data that we got across from the survey that we did with the different IT companies in Goa. 95% businesses are impacted. Now this is again the time of doing the survey, and if you see probably another 1 or 2 months down the line, it could be more. But there is a definite impact on the businesses. Now what is causing a big impact? Deferred client payments, right? Or projects have been put on hold. So companies have reserves, the cash reserves, which they have to manage, and these come as a big challenge for the industry. 77% of the companies are able to have 80% staff working from home successfully at a very short notice. This is very important for all of you to understand, right? And this is something we also conveyed to the government of Goa, because in situation like this, wherein you're expected to work from home, you need to have a good infrastructure that supports such kind of work from home environment, right? And if you're talking about 77% of companies were able to only have 80% of the staff to work from home, this itself is a big challenge for the state of Goa that we need to see how we can address and how fast we can address. Second point here is that only 25% companies could achieve productivity levels of 80% and above while working from home, right? Now this also is very important, because as an industry, productivity is very, very important, right? Because as it's a very high paying industry, we charge the customers very highly for that, and therefore you are very demanding in terms of what you are going to deliver to the customers and the time you're going to deliver it to, right? So it is very important that your people are able to work to the expected productivity levels day on day basis. 75% companies experience steep drop in productivity, mainly due to internet connectivity and power failures, right? Now, simple thing, I'm having this call today, I'm using the internet connectivity, but I am not sure if we are going to face a problem, right? And I'm sure it's going to be with most of you all. It would have been really nice to have a video call with all of you all, but I don't think everyone is able to do a video call. And that's what we find with many people. You are constrained with bandwidth that you have to, attending such sessions, and you don't come on video calls. That's a challenge, right? So we need to make sure that we address the internet connectivity and the power failure issues. The session today, I understand, had to be rescheduled because there was a power shutdown, right? So these are challenges. 26% companies will lose more than 50% of the revenues this financial year, and it could be more. And 51% companies are projecting 40% revenue. This is the revenue loss. So overall, the industry is expecting around 40% revenue loss at least, during this particular term of a pandemic. So that itself shows the impact on that industry. What it will mean, we will probably come and see in the next slide. But this is very important for all of us to understand what is this pandemic bringing along with it for us. So yes, survival and bounce back. This is for the companies. How do you survive this particular phase, right? So it is very important for everyone to understand, because many of you who are doing any computer related course live with high expectations, right? Those expectations may change or may have to be changed. We may have to reset some new normal for the industry. So at the moment, survival is the biggest challenge for the companies. So many companies, and in the survey we got 74% of the companies have decided to go for pay cuts to cut the cost, the operating cost of the company, so that you can sail through this particular phase, right? People avoided doing any job cuts during this time because of sensitivity issues. People felt that is not the right thing to do at this point of time, because we need to be helpful to many of the people, in this particular time, which was good from the industry's perspective. Thereafter, 65 companies are going to consider temporary layoff or leave without pays as a next measure to cut down the cost. This could lead to 30% plus job losses. This is worrying, right? This is very worrying. And if you read today's newspapers, Zomato, for example, is saying the same stuff. They have done job cuts, salaries of staff by 50%. Right? So this is what we're talking about. So in total, we are looking at 4,000 plus direct and 12,000 plus indirect employment loss. This is a projected if this situation continues and we are not getting out of it. Now, the next line is something which is going to be very important for all of you. 91% companies for the current time period is adopting no hire policy, right? This is going to have a huge impact on the academic sector for the recruitments that they have to provide to the students. For all of you guys who will be looking for jobs, right? And this is something for you guys to look at seriously. You may be lucky enough. There have been various batches. I happen to be from a batch which passed out in 2000, wherein there was a dot-com bubble bust, and lot of lot of the people who passed out were struggling for jobs during that time. We had something similar in somewhere around 2011, wherein again there was economic slowdown and there was a challenge, and then we are seeing some problem now, right? So hopefully things will change on a positive side, and I think we will be managing things better. Okay, so I think that's more or less about the impact on the sector. If any questions so far, then I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, we can move on to the lessons learned.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes.
Sir, my question is, Oyo fired lots of their employees.
Who's this? If
I'm Mohit.
Mohit, yeah, Mohit, hi.
Yeah. Hi. Sir, Oyo fired lots of their employees in 2019 and 20.
Yes.
So why they are firing this amount of employees at once? What's the reason behind it?
Okay, good question. And I think I mentioned that. See, what happens is when you get people to work for you is based on your targets, right? The sales targets that you want to do and the business that you're seeing that you will have to cater to. So they had that kind of business wherein they could have those many people whom they could pay. Now, if you're talking about the business is gone down by 60%, okay, what would you do?
Yes, but it's before the pandemic, no? Because before the
Right.
pandemic.
So you're talking about before the pandemic, yes, but you have to see when it is. It is not just 19 or 2019. It came early in 2020, right? And then
Okay,
it's not just here.
January.
It is globally,
Yeah.
right? So sometimes you will foresee that this is
Yeah,
happening,
exactly.
and in preparation, you will take certain actions. Right now, if you see, for example,
Yes,
Amazon
yes.
in US, they
And
had to
also
recruit people.
Google also files sometimes.
Yeah, see, Mohit, many of them have fired. It's not that everyone will come. It's not called firing as such. I think firing is a wrong word to use, right? uh,
Yeah.
Firing is most of the time related to a wrong action that you performed, or disciplinary issues, or you're not fit, you're not performing, so you got fired, right? So here I think the right word to
I
use
can
is
say
a
you
layoff.
removed.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
layoff is the most preferred word, which makes which is relatively light, I would say. uh, and I think there is a lot of emotions that are attached with it. It's not easy, Mohit, to fire people, okay, or lay off people. I worked with
Yeah.
many of the CEOs.
Yeah.
Right, for
Exactly.
us, I'll talk about some of the decisions we had to do. It is just not easy. It is not easy, right? And you will see what a
Yeah.
CEO, or the owner of a company goes through, when he has to take such decisions. Maybe very few of them can probably easily take this, but most of them cannot take it. Today, many of the startups are struggling, right? Because people who were having a revenue of crores of rupees all of a sudden have come to zero because just systems are just not being used, right? How do they survive? How do they pay salaries?
Yeah.
What is the support they get, right? So This is something that we need to address. So some of these points we have picked up with the government to see how they can help us, how they understand the severity and how they can help us. Some will have to figure out how we manage. So I will talk about the lessons learned. Again, this is a case study wherein I'm talking about what did open destinations do. Okay, because
Okay, sir.
we also got impacted. Fine.
Okay,
Hopefully you
sir.
will get some answers there. I cannot answer for Oyo, right? But I can understand the reasoning why they would have had to take that call, right? But I
Okay, sir.
also know
Thank you.
that when things come normal, when hotels will be used, they are going to hire the same people back or probably more people back.
Yeah. Right.
Okay. Any
Yeah.
other questions?
No. No.
Yes, excuse me.
Yes, Mia.
Regarding the firing and pay cuts, isn't it supposed to be illegalized during COVID?
No, they cannot see. It's like this. If your question is it legal? Answer is yes. Okay.
Yeah.
If the question is it legal to ask people to go? Answer is yes. Right.
No, but
Uh,
shouldn't it be
if your question
illegalized?
is it right for the government to say that you cannot ask people to go? The answer is no.
All right.
For the private sector.
All
Okay.
right.
So even if you see
Yeah.
the Supreme Court hearing, okay, there
Yeah.
was the same case that was disputed, and the hearing says that you cannot force the private companies to take those decisions.
All right.
Right? If you are
Yeah.
funding them, fine, yes. If you're not, then I think companies have to figure a way out by which they can survive.
Right. All right. That's it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Hi.
Myself Shubham Khulkar. Uh, my question is about this Swiggy and Zomato. Why they are removing their employees? Because their business is going on, right? Delivering the foods and all.
Okay. See again, it's not about why they are removing people. See, they're not removing everyone, right? So if there is no business, right, so you need to understand how the payment works, right? And this is a good case study I will tell some of you all to pick
Yeah.
up. We talk about Swiggy and Zomato. Do spend sometimes, not maybe now, but ask
Yeah.
them how the so speak to two different people who are delivering and people who are supplying, right? What is the model of Zomato and
Yeah.
Swiggy? What percentage do they work with? So what is that they really require to be able to be feasible? So if they have people whom they have to pay a fixed salary,
Yeah.
and if there is not much of delivery, see, it's not that
Yeah.
people are. See, if you see even in Goa now, then the number of people moving around on Swiggy and Zomato, you will see it's much lesser, right? So what do you do when you have less number
Yes,
of
sir.
business, when you have the less number of orders to deliver? Okay, what do you do with people who are just not going to
Yes.
be
Yes.
productive? Getting it?
Yeah.
So I think every business
Yes,
will have
sir.
to take
Yeah.
those calls, right? So yes, I think I was talking about the impact, and I think next thing is what did we learn? Okay, so I'll talk again from what I learned in particular, and things I thought I will share here, in this particular session. Do you all know what is business continuity plan?
No,
I
sir.
guess I guess not many. So I'll tell you. So every
No.
business that is there is expected to have a business continuity plan. So that is in case something happens, because of which a business cannot be operated, you should know how you're going to keep continuity to your business, right? So many times this is on paper. Like for example, a situation like this. Uh, how do you make sure that you are able to still operate, still continue the business? It's very very important. Like for example, some of the companies who are having their staff from outside Goa. Okay, just an example. Now your borders are locked. How will you operate? Right. So just to give an example, this is one. But I think for every company, it is very important to have something called as a business continuity plan. Now, many times this is something which is there on paper. You don't really get a chance to implement it, or you don't know how it is going to work. Right. But situations like this will actually test you for your business continuity plan, right? Today, Open Destinations is having more than 90% of its staff working from home with close to 100% productivity level. Okay, just shows that we have successfully implemented our entire transition plans and maintained the business continuity. Right? Now, there are certain things which are not in our control, right? Like, for example, the impact on the sector and things like that. But for you to have continuity provided to your business is very, very important. So how do you provide it? So what did we do, when something like this happened? So this did not happen all of a sudden. So I think you all have to understand this, that corona, what was initially known as, it's only now that we call it COVID, but I think initially people were just referring to it as corona. So this was happening around. It's just that not many were probably serious about it, right? We knew something like this happening in China. Then it went to UK. The other regions start getting impacted with this. So you knew this is going to happen. We as a company are headquartered in London, so we had a first impact there, and then we knew that okay, this is potentially going to come in here. But then we also knew that there are cases coming up in India. But then we had many something similar in the past. SARS was there, and other things were there, and nothing really came up in a big way here. So I think that was the kind of thing. But I'll tell you what really helped us in preparing ourselves for this situation. Our office, some of the people got chicken pox. Okay. Now, I don't know how many of you are aware of this, but this is also something which is not very good, right? So people got chicken pox and it was spreading. So it came to a point wherein totally of 22 staff members got chicken pox, right? Now, that was not acceptable because that means once you get it, you're not supposed to be in office for the next 2 weeks of time. So we are making mandatory quarantine for people whoever sitting next to those people, right? Certain areas and things like that. We started the sanitization programs. So almost for a month, we were having regular sanitization programs put in place. Every weekend, there's a complete full office sanitization being put in place. Every desktop, every machine, every table, everything was being cleaned. All possible things, sanitizers kept around. So we started our preparation not for corona, but we started for something else, COVID, which actually helped us in a big way to make sure that we are ahead of times, right? We were again ahead of times when it came to corona and understanding what's happening. So we knew there is some problem. So first thing we did was everyone who was traveling, because as a company we have many people from outside Goa who come and join us and work with us, we put a stop to anyone coming and working with us in office, right? So this was we did this almost 2 weeks before the lockdown was announced. So anyone who has a travel history or have been traveling, we told them not to come to office. So you work from home for 2 weeks of time, right? So that was what we initiated with. We also made sure that all people who have come to work with us, like in fact there is one guy who has landed in Goa to join us, and from that day onwards till today he's not seen the office, right? Because when he came, we put him straight to work from whichever place you're staying. You don't come to office for 2 weeks of time, and then the lockdown started, so he continued working from home. So a lot of things. So we have taken enough precautions. There's a lot of investment in making sure that we show concern about the safety, as a top priority for our people. So this was the starting point. So we started not having people to come in place. Then we had to make sure that if something like a lockdown happens in Goa, then we are prepared to work from home. So we have 500 plus people working, right? And getting everyone to work from home is not easy, and we've been trying this for a very long time. So how do you get people to work from home itself is a challenge, right? And every time people have different reasons as to why they cannot work from home, right? We had different people at different times who had worked from home. So we first got a list of all the people who had worked from home, right? That gave us data that 40% of our people can work from home, right? So now we have time just enough for making sure that the remaining 60%, we know whether they can work or they cannot work. If they cannot work, then what do we need to do? So identifying how many of them have laptops, how many of them will have to give laptops, how many people's desktops will have to be delivered to their homes to check if they're able to work. We did this one exercise on one weekend. right? So just to make sure that if situation comes, we are prepared for it, right? So we did this one activity across the office to have people to be transitioned in batches to work from home and see what are the problems, workload problems, connectivity problems, whatever it is. Now, having done that, we knew where the problems were and what can be done to address this. Now, remember some of the things here. We got the data as to how many laptops we will need. What are the other things that we will need to put in place. We immediately ordered for 20 laptops for the staff, right? So 20 laptops luckily came in on time. So it was like we ordered it online because we get 1 day delivery there. So we got them in 2 days of time, which is just in time, because immediately from the next I think couple of days, it was announced that it's going to be lockdown, right? So we had to literally transition everyone to work from home. Everyone, when I'm saying everyone, it is 500 plus people to work from home in less than 24 hours, with less than 24 hours notice. Okay, so I think this is something which is not easy, and I think the way we believe today we can talk about it because it worked, right? I know there are many we had challenges in dealing with this particular situation, but getting them to transition to this work from home, all of a sudden people who are saying that they cannot work could work, because our message was clear: if anyone is not able to work from home, okay, then we will have to ask you to go on a leave, right? We cannot ask you to be at home and not do anything, because that's unfair to others, right? And within no time, within a day or two, people made their own arrangements to be able to work from home. Okay, so I think we really appreciate the people, how they responded to the situation and how we could get people to work from home. It is very, very important, because whoever is not able to work during this time becomes a liability for a company, right? This probably will address some of the questions some of you asked earlier about why are they asking people to go and things like that. One is work, one is if people are not able to produce you the kind of work that you need. So luckily we were good enough to make sure that we can help everyone so that they can work from home. Okay, once you got people to work from home, so we literally had our drivers to ship the desktops at everyone's home. So we had every vehicle that went with a network administrator went to a person's house, gave their machines. So how we packed it, everything is also very interesting to make sure things are much easier. Took it to their home, connected it, made sure everything is fine, moved on to the next house. So this within 24 hours, our team did a fantastic job to make sure that every machine that had to be delivered was delivered. Every individual was equipped to be able to work from home. Okay. The next thing was productivity. How do you make sure that we are productive? Okay. So again, why it is important to be productive is make sure that the company finds that in such situation we are able to deliver all that is there. We don't have any reason to say that okay, we cannot view productivity for XYZ reason. What do we do? For our sector it is more important, because we don't want our customers to give us any reason why they want to put the project on hold, or they don't want to pay us, right? Because they're not able to complete things on time, not deliver on time. So there is a lot at stake. So productivity was very, very important. How do you make sure that the productivity is delivered? And I think we done a very good job in terms of making sure we deliver the productivity from the day we started working from office. So yeah, first week there was a little bit of challenge, there's some issues here and there, and then we figured out what are the problems, put things in place, and then within a week's time everything was sorted. And then we had productivity levels, like for example, one team I know, in fact two teams I know, for the last 50 days has productivity levels of 100 and above, 100%. They have not really got downtime. Now a lot of things that people have also done here, because there have been power cuts, there have been internet downtime, they have covered up for this time. In fact, many of them have worked extra hours during this hours to make sure that they don't let anyone down because of their connectivity or infrastructure issues. Okay, and that is the reason it is very, very important to have the right people to work with you during such kind of times. Okay. So again, coming to cost cutting. So once you've done this, then the company has to look at a business. Why it has to look at a business, especially for a company like us, which is dealing with only the travel domain, right? And travel domain, I just in the start of the session spoke about the impact that it had on because of this pandemic. And we are dealing in that domain, so obviously we are going to have a lot of impact with all that's happened. Many of our tour operators were shutting shops, right? Because they know all holidays are not going to happen. They were shutting shops and they're only doing cancellations for bookings that they're taken, right? Because no one is going to travel with all these bans coming along, right? So they were actually spending money or refunding money, and there was absolutely no revenue coming from them. So in such a situation, how do they afford to invest, in technology, get their projects done, go live? There are so many people who worked, like some of the customers worked for almost 8 months on a project, and they were about to go live with that. They were supposed to launch that feature in their production environment, and then there was this problem, right? What do? You already invested so much. And that customer of ours had 2 offices in Italy and one outside Italy, right? So whatever was in Italy, it was a very, very bad situation there. They had to immediately shut the offices, right? So projects go on hold, lot of revenues come to hold. Now, we are not just a very new company. We are there in the market for the last 20 years. And what we have done over the last 20 years is we have built good relationship with the customers, right? And now because of that relationship, when a customer is in a problem, we cannot be demanding, right? So that point of time when they're saying that, okay, we want relaxation in the payments, we have probably to go out of the way and say, okay, I'll help you, right? So there is going to be severe drop in your revenues and you don't know for how long. So how do you survive during this time? So we had to also go for cost cutting. So we had to work out what are the different options that we have to put in place to cut down the cost, and we had to put it in place. Now, big cost for a company is the cost it pays in terms of salaries, right? So office expenses, okay, a lot of things go in there. So we had an option whether you want to ask people to go or lay off people, or you want to cut some other, use another form of cost cutting. And we all unanimously felt that let's not ask anyone to leave at this point of time. Everyone is important. So we all agreed that we will go and take a pay cut, right? And when I say we, it is not just the management team. It is the managers, it is the leads, the team leads. Everyone unanimously said that this is a decision we should take. We are all okay to take a pay cut. We all understand the situation that we are in. We understand the domain we're catering to. We understand absolutely the worries of the CEO, and make sure that we support and stand by the company during these times. And we went ahead for a cost cut there. Now again, it was just not what Zomato and all done. We done a very small percent, so it's 10% of cut that we done. But a management team has taken a more cost cut, and at a very high level, the CX level people have foregone their salaries for 6 months of time. Now these people don't talk at times, right? And this is sometimes what a CEO does. If you have your own startup tomorrow, you will probably be ending up doing the same. So you sacrifice first, right? You have to start by yourself. So you will end up sacrificing yourself in this particular situation as well. So people have done that, and I think we have to therefore understand the situation of the people at that particular position who have to take this tough calls, because otherwise the business will not survive, right? And if business does not survive, then forget job cuts and pay cuts. The business will just shut down, and then you will have everyone just losing their jobs in one
Hello.
go. There is a lot of sensitivity around
Hello.
that. Yes.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, please.
If you know the crude oil of price of crude oil getting so
Yeah.
decreased, but why citizen of India can't take advantage of this?
Okay. See, this is something that I and you cannot just say that, okay, this is how it should come. There is a lot of explanation on this. If you just search on Google on this particular topic, you will find lots as to what is the crude price rate, and what is that you end up paying, why you end up paying. Okay. I suggest read it for now. I will not want to debate into this. If you need any links, I can share with you subsequently. Okay, Om?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, I think the next thing is difficulty in getting the cost cutting done, but the importance to do it and why we need to do it, right? So once you do that, what happens is you get a breather. So now you know that I have now some amount of money so that I can sustain whatever I was feeling that I can sustain for the next 2 months of time. Okay, now if you see many of the airlines, they can sustain without business for 2 months of time, beyond which they cannot, right? So then it's as good as filing for bankruptcy kind of a situation. So it is very important to understand these aspects as well, and that's the reason government is coming up with a lot of packages for this kind of businesses. If you see the airlines, I think it's Australian Airlines, I'm not recollecting it, the CEO was literally in tears when he had to announce that he has to basically ground his flights. So there are a lot of challenges and a lot of things for one to look at and learn from this particular aspect. So once you basically done some decisions, you have to now put your business strategies in place. You have to identify the opportunities. So this is again very important aspect, because how do you make sure that you continue to get business during these times, right? And this is where I think we've been really successful in the last 30-40 days. What we've been probably doing is having a lot of positive discussions around what do we do next, how long will it take for us to bounce back, and what will the future look like. And once you start believing in yourself that you can do it, and if pursue those beliefs, you see results, right? And I think what we are talking today is that we will have enough work till end of Q3 and probably till end of the year. Okay, we will have new customers will potentially sign up with us. Okay, these are good opportunities that you created for us during these times, to be able to not survive but to plan as to how will you come back stronger from this, right? So obviously a lot of people get credit for it, but there are a lot of efforts, a lot of positiveness that has to go in such kind of things, right? So today we're not talking about reducing the number of people. We're talking about how will we make sure that we have enough people to deliver all that we are getting, and committing clients what we can deliver and delivering to those commitments. So this is a big positive things, how we've seen that transition. Because if you had asked this in terms of feedback maybe in the month of early April, very serious situation, you didn't know what it would mean and how would it look like. But if you ask me today, it is much more positive. So I think every business will have a different perspective here. Some of them, they are just wondering how they will survive the next 2 months, and based on that they will decide what happens next. But in general, I think every business has to work at the strategies that they have and the changes that they need to do to their strategies, and what are the opportunities that you can probably explore. I've been talking about all of this. All of this is not possible without the people that you have, right? So I think it's very important that you have the right people who are working with you, and this is a time that what are the people that you're working with, what is your team like, right? And I can be very proud in saying that I have some of the best people that I've worked in the last 2 months time, right? The amount of responsibility people that they have taken, amount of accountability people have taken, and how they've responded to this situation is really praiseworthy, right? So we just had talks to many people over the last 2 weeks, done some one-to-one. It's a big number that we have, but then it's very good to talk to many people, and it's really good for them to also know that we think very highly for them, because you tomorrow will be employees, right? Some of you will also be businessmen. As an employee, I think these are the times you need to stand with your company, right? If you are a businessman, you'll expect your people to be with you. So this is where investing in people is very important, right? So you have to be the person that company believes is a person I'll invest in. They believe that if a situation like this happens, this is a person I can fall back on. And you have to make sure that you are working in an environment or with a company wherein you feel like doing this. Okay, so it is a two-way thing. But people is very important aspect in situation like this. And for us, I think we have been very lucky to have people that have responded very positively and consistently over the last few months, from the time we are in a lockdown. Okay, not that they were not doing earlier, but I think this was a more challenging time. How they've done it, I think is really good. Like as I told you, people have, without asking us, made sure that if there is any downtime, work extras. There are some people, they found out that I get good connectivity at night, so they started working at night, right? So there are a lot of such kind of cases. I know one person who would go out and sit under a tree because he was getting very good signal there and good connectivity, right? So there are these cases. Of course, he is not able to go now. In the last 1 month he's not done, but initially till he has not got the problem sorted, he's done that. So I think this is very, very important aspect, and I thought I should share, because I think tomorrow you should also want to be those people who people can proudly talk about, or want to have with you. And relationship, this is very important. I'm talking about relationship with your staff as well as your customers, both of them. I think this relationship is very, very important. And each one each one has to make sure that you, even as businesses, okay, consider building relationships in the good times, so that when you're situation like this, they really come to work. Okay, so customers, because of the relationship that we had, we could help them. There are customers who have continued doing the business. No one has just said, no, we're stopping everything. So there are people who are doing the projects. We have a lot of work because of that. And that is only because of the kind of relationships that we develop. We have people who are working and contributing and with us because of the relationship, not with everyone, but even with the some people or the immediate manager that they work with, or the team leads that they work with. And I think it's a big, big positive. So relationship is very, very important. How you develop that relationship with your customers, with your employees. Job loss, I think, is a very, very sensitive topic. So it's one of the biggest learning. The reason I put this is because it looks very easy when you say that we'll go for job job layoffs, or you're saying firing. It is not. It is not easy. It is very, very difficult, and a lot of emotions attached to this. And everyone, I'm not talking about my company only, but I think I've been working with many other companies, are not wanting to do this, right? Each one understands the particular situation we are in, and not wanting to get people to basically deal with this situation. So it is not by choice that people will go for if they have to do this. But you have to understand that in case there is a situation, how do you work onto it? Like in case, I think the idea was that if something like this happens, it will be like a leave without pay. So I'm not going to pay you, I'm not laying you off, but I will have to ask you to go on a holiday. When the situation improves, I'll take you back, right? So I think those are the kind of things. I'll also give an example. We have people who had resigned, right, and they were wanting to join other companies, and these other companies were in Goa, or they were in Bangalore or Pune. Now, because of the lockdown, they could not go. So many of the offers were put on hold. So what do these people do? So they asked for help, whether I can take back my resignation. Now we had an option of, saying that no, we cannot, because we ourselves are in a situation. But I think some cases we could not say yes, because it was related to performance and the way there was an exit which was planned. But some cases we have accepted people to continue with us. We not let people go very easily. It's very, very important because of the people that we have, and the importance that we feel the people bring to the table. So job loss is not an easy thing to talk about. It's very difficult. I think for you, it will be very important to talk about getting a job, right? But this, please understand, we ask only about it. But for any business, it is not easy to talk about this particular topic. So in general, I think lots of management lessons to learn. When you work at a very top level, get people to be involved, lot of decisions to be taken, because during these times you take a lot of hard decisions, lot of smart decisions, a lot of tactical decisions, and you need to take those decisions. So the way you manage these situations is very, very important, because these are the times wherein you really get tested. So I think there's a lot of learning for myself and many of my team members with regards to how can we manage better, and what are better ways of doing certain things. And I think we are talking about preparing ourselves for a new normal, because we may not be working all people in office. Many of them are anyway missing to be working in the office. uh, People want to come to office to see how it is like. They're missing the cafe rooms, wherein they would sit together, have some snacks, teas together. So people do miss all of those things, but we may not really get everyone to come in, because now we have identified around say 10-15 people who are having problems with connectivity, so wanting them to come to office. But for that we are making sure that the entire sanitization is redone. We are having a distance that is to be maintained. So we talk to the people and say that we may not really have working full-fledged the way we are working, maybe for quite some time till things come normal. So you need to make sure that you continue working from home. And if you see many of the companies, what they talk about is they will not have 25% of the staff at least which will work in office any longer, right? So if you hear some of these big names like Infosys and TCS are talking about working from home being the new normal, wherein they are going to have at least 25% people working from home and not coming to office, right? So a lot of things will change. A lot of people now from outside Goa who are from Goa, outside Goa, probably because of the job loss, may want to come back to Goa. There are people from US who will potentially lose a job and then will be forced to come back. So they will also be looking out for opportunities. So many people passing out in the coming months, will have challenges in getting a job. So lot of things for one to look at is to what do we do, how do we do. But for this particular session, I thought I will limit to what are the lessons that I felt were important, and I can share onto this forum, and limit it to this. So I hope you all found this particular things important, and something that you can learn about. You can ask questions. I got a few more slides, and if time is there, I can go to it. Otherwise, I'm okay to stop. Any questions?
Hello, sir.
Mohit?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah. Sir, what kind of environment do you have in your company? Like relationship between your colleagues and juniors and all, your employees.
Okay. Now,
That
it's very specific to our company. So I think it's very open is what I would say. Anyone who wants to come and talk to me, it could just be a trainee or anyone can easily come and talk to me. Uh, there is a hierarchy, of course. I talk a lot with my managers. I talk a lot with the leads that are there, which are in this time it is more. Okay. And try to have a good relationship bond. So if anyone has any personal problems, they can feel free to share that with me. I have many people who ask for help during this time. If I could be of any help to them, and I'm more than happy to do so. So I think it's very important to make sure that you build a good relationship, open and honest relationship. Don't overcommit. My personal thing, see, there are different people at different levels. Each one tries to do best the way they can. uh, but my personal thing is I don't like to overcommit. So if I know I can do some things, I will definitely tell us. Otherwise, I will buy my time. I'll confirm that okay, certain things can be done. I will make sure that happens. Because if I can tell you something and do it for you, I think you will probably trust me, right? So there
yeah,
are people who will feel comfortable talking to me, uh, and sharing some of their personal problems, or whatever is the thought process. You feel happy about it. Like for example, yesterday one of the staff members wanted to quit, right? So he spoke to me at length, and the reason being that he didn't know what to do, because he had thought that he wants to change a line. He's not enjoying what he's doing, because he studied that, so he got in that line. But it's been now almost 2 years, 3 years he's doing this, and he feels that he's going to get stuck if he continues doing this. So what to do, how can I go about doing it? So if someone feels that okay, you are the person that they can talk to, and you can be of help, I don't think you should just for the sake of it try to give answers to just handle the situation. If I don't know anything about it, or if I'm not the right person to do that, I would probably say I would direct to another person who can help. But if I can, I will definitely try to help that person. And at the end of it, if the person feels that you've been of help and says, thank you so much, this is exactly what I wanted, and now I can make a decision in a better way, you feel good about it, right? So one, for him being able to share that with you is important. And because sometimes people don't talk, they'll just go take some decision, and then if you ask them, they will not know why they've taken that decision. It could happen with you all as well. So I think it's very important to talk to people. Talk to people who you feel can help you in this situation and help you decide what is the right decision to be taken. Okay, it's very, very important. I have one point in the suggestions. These are suggestions for you all, which I thought I will share. Only if Samir gives me that time, and you all have time to listen to it.
Sir, one more.
Can I? You have a question, Mohit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, how do you boost the confidence of your employees? Because sometimes they feel down and can't work on a particular project. So how do you provide confidence to them?
Okay. See, this is again people and relationships issue. So it is mainly the leads and the managers, who are the first set of people who understand that there is a problem. Okay. Sometimes, unfortunately, you don't even know the problem, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first problem, that you don't know, and all of a sudden that person will come with his resignation or send in resignation and say that I want to leave, and then the discussion happens, which is too late, I believe. So it is very important to have more of regular connects, and talking is very, very important both ways. The manager or the lead has to be talking to you, and you need to be talking to the manager. See, trust is very, very important, right? Most of the time you need to start trusting the people you're working with, right? That they are telling you to the right things, and it's very important that you work with people who are positive themselves, right? If you start working with set of people who are negative, then I don't see it will have a very good impact on you, right? It's about how you get to work with the right team. This is very, very important. So even when you choose a company, you need to know why you're choosing that company, right? Where you'll be working. So it's very important that you understand that you're working with the right set of people, because then they influence you, right? You need to make sure that you don't get influenced negatively, because that is also very much possible, right? Many times I find new people coming in get assumptions done based on something that they've heard about something and not wanting to verify that, and that basically gets them on a wrong start. Okay, so there are people who can be the right person for you to go and talk. So ideally, if you know your line manager, that is the person that you should know. You should have the confidence, trust. If that does not work, then I think there is a problem. Then you have to probably reach out to the next set of people and ask for some guidance. Uh, Normally, my experience is that it works pretty well if you know. Like, my managers have good relationship with the staff. My team leads have good relationships. There will be cases wherein it just does not work, right? I don't want to say it is 100%, because then it may not be the right thing. But there are these situations wherein you will find these variations, right? It's about you. It's mainly about you. How do you? What are you first? How do you find that right team to work with, which will make you feel that I have to work for this team, which will make you feel that I have to go to office today. It's very important. I don't see the time. This is very important, and we have to deliver this. How do you? What makes you feel that is very, very important. Okay, so that is
It might be
to a great
shared now.
extent dependent on you and the people you work with. Okay, so I put across few suggestions I felt I'll share with this team. Uh, First I put is medical insurance, because you're talking about lessons learned. Uh, Medical insurance is something that we many times don't understand, but I think this is something that you all should understand. I know you all students, but you should pick this up with your family members as well, with your parents as well, to make sure that there is good enough insurance cover, right? Understand the different kind of insurance, because medical expense is one of the most difficult ones during these times, right? So I think it's very, very important that you have a good medical insurance for yourself during this time, right? So look at this topic. I'm not going more into it, but I think this is very, very important thing that everyone should probably look at. Second one is invest in infrastructure. The internet connectivity is what I'm preferably talking about. You need to have a machine at home. Many people have mobiles, they don't have laptops, but I think what's more convenient is the laptop. And you need to have internet connectivity which is good enough for you. If you're talking about future, which is work from home, and such kind of problems, then I think you have to do an investment in this infrastructure. Believe me, education is very soon, wherein you will have sessions which are going to be delivered for you sitting at home, right? So that's going to be probably, you'll see from the next academic year, that's going to be put in place. I would say use your time very, very constructively. There is so much of things to do. Use your time very constructively. Uh, Make sure that you are focused. You know clearly what you really want to do. But this is very important, how you use your time. For many people, this is a lockdown, it's a holiday period. I'm going to spend my time watching all the web series, watching movies, using Netflix, using Prime Video, all of this stuff. So it's not just about that. I think there is much more you can do during this time, right? You as students have to think about plan A, B, and C. In the current situation that you are in, what do you do? What is your plan A? That you always had. How can you go ahead with it? If it does not happen, what do you do? What is your plan B? What is your plan C? How will you survive this particular phase? Okay. If you're passing, I'm not having the background of all of you who are attending it, but I'm assuming all of you are students. What do you do if this continues like this? The situation is not going to be easy. So what are your plans? What do you plan to do? So this is very, very important. Develop some hobbies. It's very, very important for every individual to have some good hobbies. I think this is the time wherein it helps you basically uh, keep a relaxed frame of mind, not be very stressed out. And I think this is something which I will suggest people, if you don't have, develop some good hobbies. It could be reading a book, it could be gardening, it could be something that makes you feel relaxed. It could be playing musical instruments, but something that basically gives you that kind of space that you need, gives you that kind of peace that you need, right? Gives you that excitement and energy that you need. It's very, very important to have those hobbies during this time. Bucket list, I talk a lot about this. It's about making sure that you have your bucket list ready, wherein you know what you want to achieve and how will you achieve, right? So if you don't have your list, then that's the first problem. You need to prepare your list as to what you want to do, and then other things, your plans will be around how will you achieve it, right? So all of these are related. Many times, until unless you don't pursue things very, very strongly, you will not get it, right? So again, I will share it from experience. You need to be very, very clear that this is what I want. The more clarity you have, more chances are that you will get it, right? And more determined you are, more chances are that you will get it. So this is very important to have. So please prepare a bucket list. So it's a list of items, it's a wish list, what you want to do. This is a new learning that I've added, and I think this is something which should come in academic sessions as well. Learn lot of things around home science. When I say home science, it's about your homework, all the things that you need to do at home. Not many are able to do things at home. Now in this lockdown period, so many things you probably realize you don't get people to do. Are you able to do it? Like for example, electrical repairs. Do you know how to repair certain things? Your fan is not working. Do you know how to get it working? Electricity, your lights, tube lights are gone. Do you know how to change a light? Do you know how to change a bulb? Right? Simple things like this. You need help. Then for example, your plumber not available. What do? These things we tend to take very, very lightly, but these are the times wherein you will get tested, right? For this kind of things. Then taking care of elderly people, sick people. During this time, you don't get people who are available. If you are to by any chance go to hospital, then there is less staff. You need to take care, certain care. They are not keeping people for long. They will ask you, take them home, take care there. How do you know to do some basic first aid? Right? So these things are very, very important, and I think this is something which unfortunately we don't have in our syllabus. We don't get it covered in academic systems, but I felt it is very, very important that individuals should know some things about these aspects, which they can probably don't find helpless in situations like this. you know like for example, many people want monsoon work to be done, like tiles to be changed on the house, the roof tiles, and you don't know how to do it, right? So I think these are important aspects. Someone has to relook at whether I should probably know some of this. This is very important. Stay away, guys, from all social media garbage and any news media also that is basically talking a lot of negative stuff. It just does not let you focus on the positive aspects that are really required during this time, right? So you only talk about the negative part of it. All the things that are not going to bring positive energy is what you spend your time on. So I suggest stay away from all this social media garbage. Spend time which is more constructive. Do some real good work. You could do some nice video recording, show some creativity, do some dance, whatever you want to do. Have fun. But talking all this negative stuff, uh, sticking to this negative things, is just not helping much, right? So this is very, very important. For you guys, I will suggest you take research work. Okay, this is something very, very important that you all need to understand. uh, when I say research is about something which is related to the next point, it's about internship and mentor. So your key thing is, in this time you may not get a job, but you can get an internship. So in this situation where I said companies are not probably going to want to pay, right? How will you basically get a job, right? Are you okay to do a job without money, right? Rather than just being idle or not having anything. Because remember guys, you will get experience, right? So it could be like an investment. So I'm not telling you to do this, but I think not doing anything and just being at home is a big killer, right? So there are a lot of all negative thoughts start coming into you if you're not doing anything. So there are a lot of opportunities. If no one is giving you a job or you're finding it difficult to get a job, there are so many things you can do on your own to create a job for yourself, or start your own business for the time being, or do something, learn things during this time frame, so that you are very active and fresh, right? Pick up a mentor who you think can mentor you in your professional life. This is again something we ignore to a great extent. In the early stage, I think you should try and see if you can get someone who will mentor you, telling you what are the things that you can potentially do, how to behave at workplace, how can you grow faster in your professional career. You need to have someone who can give that direction. So you need to identify someone. It could be someone in a family, some relation, who you look up to, and if he's willing to guide you, then maybe that's fantastic. Or it could be a friend who is already achieved some things, who is more than happy to help you with that. Or it could be someone you look up to, where you are working or anywhere else, if you could help you in terms of giving you some inputs as to how you can be that person that you want to be, right? So asking for a mentorship during this time is very important. Doing your own research as to which are the companies you would like to work for. What do they do? What do I need to do for being able to get a job? Because remember, if you're looking for a job, there'll be so many people who will be wanting a job, right? How will you be that one person that will be selected out of all of those people to get that job, right? So you need to do some amount of research work as to how do you go about doing certain things, which companies I can apply, what do they work in, how can I be the best choice to work for them, and things like that. So these are very important suggestions I felt I will share with you. And the last slide is just about the if you're talking about travel, then what are the kind of trends you will probably see in the coming future? What are the kind of investments, or which are the opportunities that will be in the technology side of the travel businesses? So you will see a lot of investment in enhancing the passenger experience using augmented reality and virtual reality. Uh, there'll be a lot of efforts to make security seamless with AI. So you see a lot of changes in the way the scanning at the airport happens, the way the people are being checked. So a lot of things will change. You will see a lot of AI coming in picture there. You will have a lot of personalizations of the passenger journeys with variables and IoT. So you will have a lot of bands which are smart bands tracking you. You don't really have to touch things. So a lot of things will happen there. Automating actions with voice and robotics, and then hassle-free experience with biometric technology. So some of the top trends in travel. So if you're looking for some kind of specialization, or in the travel side of it, it's good for you all to know. That's the reason I put this one particular slide. And I
So
think
it
in
will be like
conclusion, it's just about question and answers. So if anyone has any more questions at this point of time, feel free to ask. I'm done with the presentation that was planned. Any questions?
uh, sir, sir,
Yes.
how many time it will take to come technologies like VR and AR in Goa or in India? So because there are not much project related to VR and AR, like augmented reality.
So there are
How
many.
how much time it will take to come
It's already there.
But not in Goa as to be considered. But
You're talking
not
about the
in Goa,
consumers.
right?
You're talking in terms of consumers, right?
Yeah. Yes,
See,
yes, yes, yes.
consumers will vary. See, the consumer side of it is going to
Got
vary.
it.
Okay, and it is going to be situation based. Based on what is that you want to see there. But it is not necessarily only in travel. But I think there's a lot of investment happening in those domains. A lot of work happening in India. There are some sectors which are already starting to use it. I personally feel the travel sector is going to use it more in terms of giving you that travel experience before you book your holidays and trying to be there. So, like for example, you could have a travel room. You could just like for example, today people could still go and visit a place using augmented reality, virtual reality,
Yeah.
augmented reality. They could just experience that particular destination, right? So, how
Yes.
long will it take to come in? I don't have the answer for it. But if you ask me in terms of work that is happening, yes, it's absolutely happening. A lot of companies are working on augmented reality. And any other questions? No, there
Hello,
is
sir.
no.
Myself Shubham Kolkare.
Yes, Shubham.
So, yeah, myself Shubham here. I want to ask about that. You said AI will take place later on. So they will means employ the companies will remove the employees because of the AI use of AI. So what is the benefit of us?
No, 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 no. I see. It does not happen that way. It's not that. So your concern is there will be jobs lost, right? See, understand one aspect.
Yeah, plus yeah.
Jobs. See, jobs will be lost, but new jobs will be created. Okay,
Yeah.
this is very very important aspects. So we only many times only look at the job losses. We don't see the job creation part of it. Okay, like if you see 5 years back, where were the AI jobs? Very very limited, few people. But AI probably was not the kind of
Yeah.
thing you're referring. Today everyone's talking about it, right? So we're having more and more jobs being created for AI. A lot
Yeah.
of data scientists jobs have been created. These were not there some time back. If you see 10 years back, these were just not existing, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
while some jobs will go, new jobs will be created. In fact, more will get created, right? Like I'll give you an example. See the banking sector,
Yeah.
right? So initially when ATMs came in, there's a lot of fear, right? That jobs will be lost. So those
Yes, sir.
whatever
Yeah.
basic jobs were there, yes, they got lost, but new jobs got created, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I think it's very very important to understand what will happen. Like for example, a person who takes admission to say engineering now, he's going to pass out 4 years from now. So when he's going to pass out, maybe what is going to be there will be not what was there when he went into engineering, right? Things will change. So our education system should basically teach you something which will help you learn new technologies. And that's the reason it's very important to keep yourself invested in training yourself. So like even now, I enroll myself for programs to learn new things, right? So it is very, very important that you keep
Innovative.
investing in yourself, your own self, right?
Yeah.
So don't get carried away with whatever I put in there. Oh, these are the trends. Oh, it's not there in my syllabus. We don't learn augmented reality. We don't learn AI. We don't learn security stuff. Not required. You can be a consumer of it, right? You can build solutions around
Yes.
that. Or, someone provides some solution. You can use it and build something on top of it, or you can use it for your business.
Yes, sir. Yes. Sir. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else?
Hello, sir.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
Sir, I'm Siddhant. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, Siddhant.
So I wanted to ask that since you have talked about the impact during the COVID-19 about the jobs here, so apart from technological changes, even does also means that economic policies of the government may also impact.
Yes, of
So,
course.
so could you highlight what are the economic policies which we are also highlighting apart from even technological changes? because sometimes some economic policies may not work with different businesses currently.
It's not economic. I think there is an economic revival plan. Okay, so you need to work closely with the relief packages. So it's called a relief package. So we have given some proposals to the government of Goa in terms of support that they can give to the industry during this time. Okay, see, this is a time wherein you need to provide support to the industry by giving them the oxygen that they need, right? If you're going to impose restrictions during this time, then the industry is going to collapse, right? Now, the government said that they cannot provide any support to the industries in Goa. Okay, if that is the situation, what do you expect the industries to do during this time? Okay, now the central government has come up with some schemes. So we have made a representation for the IT industry as such, saying that okay, we know that it's not an easy situation for the government of Goa. So we have given two things: one, which will not have financial impact for the companies, and two, which will have a little bit of financial impact for the government. Okay, so the
So
non-financial impact for the government would be the ones like allow any government funded institution to give loans to the companies during this time for shorter duration with low rate of interest, so that they can take care of some of the operational expenses during this time to be sitting alive. Okay, uh, then don't issue notifications like this is mandatory, that is mandatory. Like if you see UP, they're saying they relaxed all the labor laws, so they are basically not going to push for any of the labor laws because of the labor union problems and things like that. So just want to get away through this. So you're basically trying to make sure that as a state you're very friendly for the industries to come in, because no industry, as I told you, want to just cause trouble. Most of them will want to work in the interest of the employees, right? So it is very very important that you see both side of it. So when you make a statement like you cannot ask people you cannot ask companies to you cannot ask employees to take pay cuts and things like that, which is not legal, which is not right. That was a question that was asked right in the beginning, right? So that becomes a problem. So how do you basically adjust those? uh, there are other things like, for example, the IT industry has an IT policy. Since 2005 we're talking about an IT policy. No IT company in Goa has got any benefit out of it so far, right? So this is a time you need to probably implement a part of it, maybe very very small part of it, to make sure you give them some benefit, because then these industries will create jobs. I in the first few slides also spoke about the kind of jobs that the industry generates
so
in the
but
state
there
of.
should be also reforms no to the IT policy as well. So since
Can you
it's
give an
not
example?
providing,
What are you referring to?
so you have spoken about the IT policy and you said it's not benefiting. So shouldn't it be reformed?
See, okay, IT policy in 2005 is no longer valid here, right? So when
Yes.
we got into it 3 years back, when we were involved in drafting the IT policy, so me through GTA we were involved in writing the policy. One thing we pushed very hard is to make IT anywhere mandatory in the policy, which they acknowledge and they've done that, right? So there are a lot of things that are there. So if you see the startup policy, Goa is the only second state to have implemented the startup policy. So people have been given benefits. So there has been a lot of things that has moved on from what it is. And in the last 3 years back, we changed the policies. Okay. Now, at that point of time, when we were drafting the policy, we did not know about this situation would come, right? So you're right. So now, when someone is going to revive the policy in the next version of it, they will probably add something which is more specific and covers this kind of pandemic. During such times, what are the kind of support we are talking about? Like we have spoken about building an internet highway, in the sense make sure that there is end-to-end connectivity. So government should invest in building an infrastructure which can be used by the people, okay, who are working in the sector, and students who are studying, to be able to work from home, to be able to study and learn from home. Okay, so in that sense, yes, the policy will need to change. When it will change, I don't know. A lot of things, for example, if you see MSMEs, okay, the central government has announced, and they also change the rules of what makes you qualify for MSMEs, right? Like certain sections are not normally eligible. Now with the new things, they will be eligible. Today there was some announcement happening about some additional financial benefits. I could not sit through that, but maybe after the session I'll go and review that. So a lot of things are happening and a lot of things will change, right? So to answer your question, yes, things are going to change and they are already working on it. So this is something a first time for many of us, right? So we cannot ask someone to just respond immediately, right? So it's about how they will basically come up to speed and help us.
So then all the sectors and all the systems have to work together, no, to adapt these changes. Like education system has to work, no, so that
Yes,
all should able to learn and adapt how to use this type of technology. And also, so what are your take on
yes.
this, sir?
Yes, I think it's very important to work together during this time. See, IT as such, one benefit is we are in different sectors. Like, for example, we as a company are working in travel sector, right? Then there is another who will work in the aviation sector. Someone else will work in healthcare sector. So there are different sectors that you are catering to. Now, when you say it's very important to work together, we absolutely agree and we acknowledge that. And I think very fact that when we made representations to the government, we have not done as separate individual associations also, we also done a combined representation. So all the different associations in the state of Goa across sectors, pharma sector, chamber of
Yes,
industries,
yes, sir.
industrial associations, IT associations have all come together and have given a common memorandum to the government saying that this is what you need to do to help these industries during this time.
So, but recovery of losses is the only responsibility of the business owner, that is the startup owner, or there are other parties also involved. Like there should be some change in many other things, systems as such.
Like,
Like for example, the current financial reforms or startup reforms may also change, no, sir, due to this pandemic.
yes, yes. So you don't know how many startups may close, right? Because of this situation. You don't know how many new startups have started in the last 2 months. I know some of them that have started. I know how many. I know there are some who have changed the line of business. There's some of them, like for example, someone. I'm sure you guys have also understood this. There are these uh, alcohol manufacturers who have gone and started manufacturing sanitizers. Right? People have gone
Classic example.
into mask distributions, right? So wireless hand sanitizers. So a lot of things have happened during this time. Some people have gone into delivery systems. So within no time they put a home delivery system in place, and that's a new business they're running. So nothing less than probably some thousands of startup ideas would have come in the last 2 months, and I'm sure 200, 300 would have already started by now.
So I think your this meeting may also help in developing Atmanirbhar Bharat, maybe.
I think it is absolutely praiseworthy that that point has come up. You know, that Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is there, it is not something which is coming now. It was there much earlier as well. Okay, uh, wherein there was no. See, these are all words which are now helping in the media movement. But if you remember, there was something called as Swadeshi.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, the motto of Swadeshi movement or the Swadeshi stuff was Atmanirbhar Bharat.
Yeah, actually it was, but it did not get implemented properly.
Exactly. So it is all about self control. Like, for example, we are not able to follow social distancing, quarantine principles, right? If you're not able to do this, how do you expect people to do follow all of those stuff? Like, for example, when it will come to Diwali, for example, you will go and still buy some Chinese products, right? I'm just giving an example of this Atmanirbhar stuff.
Yes, sir. I understood.
So it has to go from every individual. Okay, people still use TikTok. There's so much of campaign happening. Don't use TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok
I'm not against
promotes
any
the
of those.
hateful.
Okay, see, it's a global. I personally am not against any of this because that's a market we cater to anyways. Okay, so tomorrow anyone gets a job in China, for example, you may not say no to it. You may go for it. Or someone says, I want to do a business with you or giving you investment. You may not say no to it. So it's not about any individual. It's about your thought process, and you cannot make this mandatory for anyone, right? So it is every individual. Okay, so Atmanirbhar Bharat is a thought process. Okay, now it is about every individual how he picks that up and how he probably going to consume or contribute to it.
No, we also have to work on becoming a manufacturing hub. That would be much more beneficial, though, sir.
I agree. I agree, and that is where I think, see, a lot of the youth will start thinking differently, or should start thinking differently. Okay, because the opportunities could be anywhere. In fact, one of the suggestion I've given to the academia is about, we have these projects that we do, and say, for example, IT students have to do only IT related projects, mechanical engineering have to do only mechanical related projects, electrical have to do only those projects. Why can't some people do projects together? What if a medicine students want to do a project which requires mechanical guy to be there and IT guy to be there? Why can't we accept that as a project?
Yeah, actually, should have been. There was one somewhere one collaboration was there. It was one ventilator was made by an IIT student from IIT Mumbai, I guess.
Yeah,
There was a this thing cheapest ventilator made, which it's a multi ventilator where
yeah,
at
I
one
think,
ventilator 4 patients could
yes,
accommodate.
you're right. So I think this is where we need to acknowledge and we need to support this kind of ideas, right? So a lot of things. See, this is a time to see innovation, and believe me, it is the students. At your level, if you can innovate, I think you will see a big difference, right? I think we should be able to innovate. We should be able to think differently, and more importantly, do it. Many people have ideas. They don't go ahead and implement it. Okay, so people who really implement those, I think, really appreciate those because I think it makes a big difference.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your suggestions.
No, I really liked your thought process, and I think you should perceive it. I think all of you, Mohit, and all those who ask questions, I think it's very important that you. I like that you all are vocal. Okay, it's one of the very key aspects that you come prepared, you ask questions, uh, and I think that is the biggest fear most of the students have. You know, not wanting to ask questions, or being scared to ask questions. I think that's the first thing every individual has to overcome. You should ask questions, uh,
Yes, sir.
and make sure that and see, questions can be wrong, people will laugh. I think that's one of the reason people don't ask questions. But uh, if you change that thought process and make sure you ask your doubts, your questions, you get answers to it. uh, and it is not necessary that you have to agree to that answer. Okay, it's up to you to agree or disagree. uh, but it is important that you ask the question so that you get to know one perspective, right? So I'm happy that you all ask questions. So you have more sessions lined up. I will request most of you all to prepare for those sessions. You will know the topics and do ask questions. It's very, very important to ask questions, right? And I think, yeah, stay positive during this time. Talk to your friends, take things ahead positively. A lot of you have a lot of energy. Keep up that energy. I would just say, stay safe, stay at home, stay blessed.
I need to ask one question from the student community itself, right? So while discussing with you, means you when you're sharing your thoughts, I come across this question to ask you or not, but still I will ask about it. Basically, sir, this COVID-19 happens right now. The student thinking that they are all the BCA students. They're planning to have that whether I should go for MCA, MBA later, or planning to go with a startup or something like that. So parents also think about the financial matter now. If my student is going for, you can say for MCA, I need to spend money. Whether it's worth later on, because after COVID, the situation going to recession is again in the picture. So what exactly they will get a job or it waste my money over there? The parents might think in that way also. So what is your opinion as a industry perspective? What do you think about?
See, as I told you, a lot of things. One, while I say jobs will be a problem, people will lose jobs. Okay, so people will have to go and reskill themselves. Okay, now looking at the new guys, one, yes, there is a risk that they may not get jobs because companies will say we are not hiring new freshers. Okay, because um, it's just not going to help us. On the other hand, some of them will say we will now only hire. We will ask all our senior experienced people to go, or some of them to go and hire only freshers. Okay, so it is a two-way thing because freshers will come at a lesser cost, right? So you will train people and then be able to manage the cost better that way. So there is both ways. So it's about where you need. That's the reason I mentioned research. When you do research, you are in a position to find out which are the companies which employs freshers. Okay, some companies have no fresher policy, right? So there is no point in dreaming about that, right? So that is one aspect of it. So how do you research and identify companies that you can potentially target to, being the company that you can work for? Okay, one. Secondly, I would suggest is that your education loans, because you said of the fees and all, your education loans might become cheaper. Okay, so if someone is really keen on studying or doing further courses, you may get benefits with the interest rate coming down on that. Okay, so that's another aspect of it. Third aspect is whether to do MCA, MBA at this point of time or look for a job. I have my own views on this. Okay, I think when I came to a college also, Samir, I spoke to the students. I told them, if you're doing MCA, you need to know why you are doing MCA. My concern is that people whom I talk to, they say they don't like programming, but they want to do MCA. Right? That does not go well with me. Okay. Now, someone who is really enjoying programming and wants to pursue MCA, yes, absolutely yes. But people who are not wanting to do programming, it will not make sense for you to go and do that particular program. Okay. Yeah. So this is where I'm again mentioning, identify someone who will mentor you all. Okay. Talk to someone if he can be of help to you. Give you some directions. Okay. Now I cannot say bluntly that don't do MCA. Okay, don't do engineering or whatever it is. Don't do MBA, because I have myself done all of it. Right. So it is going to be situation based. But I think for an individual, you have to take those calls. Like today, if I see what happens in an MCA after doing BSc Computer Science or BCA, you go and do MCA there, and it's basically after 3 more years you'll end up doing same thing what you are probably at end of BCA or BSc Computer Science, which is not making sense. If you're going for a master's program, you should go to the next level from where you are. So my personal suggestion, looking at the current situation in BCA and BSc Computer Science, would be, if possible, after your graduation, take a job or an internship wherein you actually learn things what you believe you are not learned. If I ask students, what have you learned in BCA or BSc Computer Science around programming or anything around it? Their answer, you all know, right? It's like, okay, not much. I don't like programming. I don't know this. I don't know that. We are not taught this. So it's not about what others are doing. It's about what are you doing to achieve what you want to achieve, right? So maybe you should spend some time in understanding what that is all about. What that job is all about. Now you are qualified after doing BCA. You are qualified to do any kind of job. So once you do say for a job for a year's time, maybe you'll understand what are the different, and you don't do that job for money, by the way. Okay. You should not do that first job for money. You should do that first job to understand what these opportunities are. What can I do after I study further or, after some time? So you will know, like, for example, you enter in an IT company, maybe you go as, say, a QA analyst, fresher or an intern. What does a QA guy do? Okay. Yeah. Then in that same company, which are the other positions that are there? Okay, like, okay, this is a support consultant. What does a support consultant do? Oh, this guy is a implementation consultant. What does he do? Then there is a business analyst. What do they do? Oh, he's a developer. He's an architect. He's a senior developer. He's a team lead, right? What do they do, right? How did they reach to the next level, right? What are the things that they had learned and what they learned when they came to work, right? These things you need to spend time in learning, maybe in 1 year of time, which will help you take a decision what you want to do next. Right? And this is if you're trying to build a good professional journey. See, many times things happen to us just like that. Okay. But I think it is very, very important to understand that you can plan your growth, right? You can plan your journey. Okay. So I think these is what I would suggest. Think through. If you're really clear that you want to do an MCA, go for it. If you think that I am not sure, I need someone to help me, identify that person whom you think you can trust. If you feel that, I will want to do my own research and therefore this is the route I will take, what I just told you, go in an industry as an internship or as a project, identify what each one does, make sure I have a good understanding, talk to my friends who are doing that. You will have more clarity of what you think you will like doing. Because my problem is many times I find people who say that they are not enjoying what they're doing, right? And believe me, there are very, very few people who will get to do what they love to do, right? So my suggestion to people is either go and start to do what you like to do, or start liking or loving what you're doing. You will do well. This is very, very important. This thought process is important. Does it help, Samir?
Yeah.
Change your job opportunities if you take up courses, as in specific courses, rather than an entire MCA degree?
Lian, I could not get the starting part of the question.
My question was that does it change your opportunities if you get into a specific course, or if you take the entire MCA degree?
I would say yes and no. Okay, yes based on what you are. Okay, how good you are. Because if you say MCA, there are different set of companies that will come on campus, right, to pick up talent from there, right? So there are better opportunities. So the companies that will come for BCA students will not be the same ones who will usually come for the MCA students. Okay, so yes. Then how do you make yourself that person who gets selected is up to you.
Right.
Okay, because even there, over a period of 3 years, things could change for you.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that aspect is very, very important.
Yes.
Fine. I think Samir, I think we'll conclude the session for the day. Call it.
Yeah. I'm very much thankful to you, sir, to in spite of your busy schedule, you planned it, we reschedule it, again interrupt occurs in between, the lots of problem occurs in between, but you continuously work with stand with us for 2 hours and explain the stuff. Along with that, you answer the queries perfectly with them and solve that queries. I hope they enjoyed also, students also. I'm very much thankful to you from the college side, also from my personal behalf also. Along with that, I just thankful to all the students who participate for the day. Because of network connectivity, some problem occurs here and there, but we'll share the things what exactly I have with me now later. So thank you very much, sir.
Great. All the best, everyone. Take care. Be responsible and stay safe. Bye.
Yes,
have a nice weekend.
Yes, sir.